Alright, you lot, pull up a chair, crack open a tin, and brace yourself. Cause today's Scotty podcast is aimed square at COD fanboys screaming plagiarism while Battlefield quietly sharpens its knives. We're unpacking Zampella effect, torching bullshit dev decisions, and dragging worst techs out back where they belong. From Bungie's breakdown to Steam's chokehold, this episode's got everything. Plus your questions, some recent news, and a Twonk at week so thick it makes Warzone servers look stable. Let's get into it. Right then, open your fucking ears, cause we're diving straight into deep end today. This one's for smooth brains who think Battlefield's copying COD, like a teenage lad knocking off his dad's aftershave and calling it cologne. You know, yeah, like this absolute testicle or a human, Crimson FKR. And yeah, I'm gonna read his entire fucking diarrhea streamer comment, cause this is best example of clueless bollocks dressed as opinion I've seen all week. Game's dog shit. Imagine giving a fuck about a game that slags COD off, yet this year's copies more from COD than ever before. Ha ha ha, delusion at its finest. It's made by DEI retards, hence lack of fun and lack of numbers as time passes on, XD. Maps too small, snipes take 2 headshots sometimes randomly, and medics are useless as no fucker revs. Half team are always 2 classes and that's it. Game's piss poor design has shown its ugly head yet again. This is what far left influence has on games. They all turn unfun and copy pasted of other games' good eyes, but made worse by cunts who can't even do the job cause they're too busy trying to figure out what sex they are. All YouTubers are disingenuous as fuck cause they know they have no audience if they don't hype up another game more than is needed, knowing how shit it is. Oh, deep fucking breath. Grammar? Don't exist. Intelligence? Terminally fucking absent. And logic? Left fucking building like Elvis on speed. And don't even get me started on lazy bollocks attempt to blame far left influence for bad map design. What fuck are you on about, lad? Only thing woke here is how long you've clearly been asleep to game dev history. Let's correct record. This ain't COD infecting Battlefield. It's Zampella effect. That's right, Vince fucking Zampella. Man's been blueprinting first-person shooters since half these melts balls dropped. Go back to 2002. Medal of Honor, Allied Assault. Banger. Zampella made that. EA shafted him. So he flipped table, started Infinity Ward, and brought us Call of Duty. Codename? MOH Killer. By Christ did it kill. Fast forward, Modern Warfare 2 it's in 2009. Peak COD. And who's still pulling strings? Zampella. Then Activision, in all their infinite dickery, boot him out. So what does he do? He makes Respawn, builds Titanfall, and cements himself as shooter messiah. Not a sequel machine, a genre rebuilder. Now, EA, in one of rare moments that pulled their head out of their asses, put him in charge of DICE LA, renamed it Ripple Effect, and gave him keys to Battlefield franchise after 2042 shambles. Battlefield 6? That's his. Not a COD clone, a fucking upgrade. And if you think otherwise, you mistake chef for ingredients. See, COD's been chasing Zampella's shadow since day they kicked him out. They've been trying to recreate that sauce. But what you've got now is a cheap knockoff curry with none at spice. Meanwhile, Battlefield's got real deal back in kitchen. Original recipe, straight from source. You're telling me this is Battlefield copying COD? Nah mate, COD's now licking Battlefield's boots trying to stay relevant. Now let's talk future. If Battlefield 6 keeps on path it's paving, COD's in trouble. Real trouble. And if that happens, EA, you listening? Dust off Medal of Honor. Greenlight Titanfall 3. You've got Zampella. You bastard! Let him cook. Give him sandbox and walk away. You'll be shooter kings. To OG Battlefield fans crying about smaller maps and fewer players. Evolve or fuck off. Zampella's not trying to rewrite your nostalgia. He's making sure next generation has one. And that requires more than just 128 players running around like blind goats on massive field. It requires pacing, balance, finesse. Shit, Zampella understands better than any dev working right now. And Ubisoft? Your dick baggery with X-Defiant deserves its own segment. But let's keep it short. You had your chance to do a Zampella-style pivot, but you chose mediocrity and micromanagement. Hope PowerPoints were worth it, you plonkers. So to wrap it up, Battlefield 6 ain't copying shit. It's reclaiming throne. COD's been borrowing Zampella's ideas for years. Battlefield's just got man himself. That's Zampella effect. And that, lads and lasses, is that shooter where I might just flip again. Now fuck off with your half-baked texts unless you've done your homework. Right then, now that we've set fire to idea Battlefield's copying COD, let's jump into your questions. Part at show where you bring fire and I bring flamethrower. No fluff, no dodging, just raw text, direct from your warped little brains to my big gob. First up from a Bapical, who clearly woke up this morning and chose violence this week, we've got a zinger. I absolutely cooked his Bungie. I cannot see a world in which Marathon gains enough momentum to last more than a flat launch. I don't think it's Concord situation, since Bungie name already brings a lot more hype, and it seems Sony is scared enough of that to be maybe moving things in a better direction. But I just can't see $40 game not being a kill shot for studio. So many reasons why it's likely to be nailing coffin. Almost poetic. Though, game that started it all being game that could completely end it all. Bloody hell, mate. That's not a question. That's a bitchery with extra sass. And you know what? I'm not even going to blame you. Noise around Bungie lately has been nuclear. And not in a the cooking sort of way. Nah, we're talking toxic reactor meltdown, where all studio pride is melting through fucking floor. Now, I do have a source on this. Can't say who, can't say where, but trust me when I say, this ain't Reddit tier rumour mongering. This is kinda intel that makes Sony execs reach for brown trousers. Here's picture. Bungie's Marathon is deep in identity crisis therapy. They couldn't figure out if they wanted a Fortnite crowd or if they were going full Tarkov. Spoiler alert, they've gone hardcore. And not like, ooh, edgy skins and moody lighting hardcore. I mean actual, you die, you lose all your shit, fuck you hardcore. Lower time to kill, beefed up enemy AI that'll rinse your ammo if your aim's off. No safety nets, no hand holding, just pure digital Darwinism. They've added stuff like solo mode and proc chat, which sounds alright, but games still got weird hero shooter hangovers. Invisibility perks and meta builds already stinking up place like last week's takeaway left under a radiator. Now visuals? Sorted. Apparently polished up nicely since that tragic alpha people saw last year. Art style looks ace in game now, not just pre-rendered cutscenes. That's a win. But a shiny coat of paint and a binfire is still a binfire. Feedback? Yeah, mostly decent from people who wanted to be there. Handpicked alpha testers. Real test comes when unwashed masses get their hands on it. Your cousin Craig, that guy from pub who still plays DayZ on a laptop from 2012, them lot. But let's talk risk. 40 quid for an extraction shooter. In this economy, from a studio bleeding goodwill like a stuck pig, that's a gamble. A Sony-funded gamble, mind, which is probably why it suits an hour hovering like vultures, sweating bullets and whispering things like course correction and strategic synergy in a dimly lit boardroom. If Marathon flops, and that's still an if, it wouldn't just dent Bungie's armour, it might fucking cave the skulls in. We're talking layoffs, restructures, and Destiny going into a coma where do not resuscitate note stapled to its forehead. And poetry in it? Yeah, beautifully fucked. Marathon, game that launched Bungie's journey, could now be the last nail in its coffin. That's some Shakespearean tragedy wrapped in a loot box. Bottom line, Marathon's not cooked yet, but it's in oven, and smoke alarm's already gone off twice. Sony's watching, Bungie's praying, and players, they'll decide whether it's a resurrection or a fucking funeral. Next one comes from a certified maniac with a username that's probably on a government watch list. Pyro Friendly Arsonist 9195 asks, Battlefield gotta be R. Any thoughts? Aye, cheers for that and Pyro. Short and spicy, like a shot of vodka up wrong pipe. Now look, I've dipped a toe in. Not enough to call myself a BR pro, but enough to know when something smells like it's been reheated in a microwave full of broken dreams. And I'll say this, it's fun. It works. Mechanically, it's got that Battlefield chaos we all secretly wank over. Destruction, squad play, mad moments with helicopters nosediving into burning shack. Top tier carnage. But, and this is a big ass but, does it belong in Battlefield? Not really, mate. Same way Warzone never truly belonged in Call of Duty. What's happened with these mainline games is Battle Royale cancer creeps in, mutates DNA, and suddenly multiplayer feels like it's got personality disorder. TTK gets weird. gun balance goes out the window, map design suffers. It's like a pub band deciding mid-set they're gonna be a boy band now, and your ears are paying price. It's a tale as old as monetization. Devs chase trends, bolt shit onto legacy franchises, and end up with a mutant child that alienates original fans and fails to grab new ones long term. Now don't get me wrong, if Battlefield must have a BR, there's a right way to do it, and that's separate, free to play, custom rules, different systems. A big old sign that says, "This is not main game." That way it don't fuck with core loot, keep mainline Battlefield for massive combined arms warfare, not for circle shrinking and hiding in bushes while Jeff from Reddit headshots you from Brazil. To the credit, they've taken some steps already that look like they're trying to keep BR shit fenced off, and I'll talk more about that later in news bit. Cause there's a move EA just made that might actually show a bit of brains behind madness. But yeah, TLDR, fun mode, don't belong, keep it separate or risk all house of cards falling again. And again, my mate Pyro asks, "Hey Scotty, yeah, I don't know what to say. My dog has gone to big open field. If you know, you know." I guess for my question is, any new games that should be a look at? I know what you're saying, mate. Sorry for your loss. Now, you know what, mate? You've dropped a brilliant question that leads into a whole new segment for a Scotty podcast going forward. Let's get into best upcoming games this week. First up, can't believe I'm saying this, I'm actually looking forward to a bloody mobile Sonic game. Sonic Rumble drops on 5th. And yeah, it's basically Fall Guys with blue blur branding. 32 player slapfest, short rounds, chaos that'll make your thumbs ache you. It's first proper Sonic multiplayer party thing, and if it works, could be daft fun, or a monetized migraine. Either way, I'm diving in head first just to see how fast it derails. Fingers crossed it's not riddled with gacha trash. Next up on 6, Rebel Engine. It's a side-scrolling robot revenge fantasy soaked in bullets, fire, and corporate spite. You play Asimov, a rusted construction bot with a claw, a chainsaw, and a chip full of hatred. Concrete Corp runs Ultima City like a tech gulag, and you're climbing their mega tower to rip the whole thing down, one floor and one boss at a time. Combat's fast, filthy, built for chaos. Grab enemies, launch them into each other, chain gunfire with melee like a pissed off Bayonetta, and finish them off with plasma blast and giant lasers. If you like stylish violence and sticking it to late stage capitalism, keep an eye on this one. There's even an arena mode if you fancy bullying leaderboard. Also on 6, we've got Dollhouse at Dead. Imagine a corporate hellhole where AI-powered toys go feral, and instead of sending in soldiers, company sends in minimum wage meat shields like you. You're a scavenger, which is corpo speak for expendable twat with a flashlight. Your job? Tiptoe through a busted toy factory filled with demonic dolls, psychotic teddies, and AI nightmares stitched together by marketing. Some toys just stare, others lunge for your throat. You're there to loot scrap, unlock new areas, and hopefully not end up face down with a wind-up monkey drumming your spine. It's bleak, it's bloody, and it looks stupidly fun if you like your horror wrapped in corporate satire and razor wire. And wrapping up on 6, we've got Forefront, a VR shooter gunning for big leagues. 32-player warfare in full-fat virtual reality, with tanks, helicopters, boats, and more explosions than Michael Bay wet dream. Made by devs behind Breachers and Hyperdash, this one's aiming to be Battlefield in headset. Big maps, destructible terrain, proper class loadouts, and kinda tactical play that'll either make you feel like a war god, or headless chicken with motion sickness. You got Assault, Medic, Sniper, and Engineer classes. You can drive, fly, or get flattened. It even supports crossplay with other VR platforms, so if you've got gear and stomach, might just be first VR shooter worth sweating over. Now then, freebies at week. Bendy and Ink Machine on Epic. Think Mickey Mouse meets Cthulhu. Old school cartoon horror soaked in ink and regret. You're Henry, dragged back to your cursed old animation studio. What starts off as a nostalgic stroll turns into a screaming sprint through demonic doodles and eldritch sketchbook nightmares. It's twisted, it's tense, and it costs bugger all. So if you've got spine for it, grab it. If not, go watch Peppa Pig. Also free on Epic, Five Nights at Freddy's, Into Pit. You're Oswald, a bored lad who jumps in a dodgy ball pit and ends up time travelling into nightmare fuel. Classic! It's got usual FNAF formula, creepy animatronics, cryptic clues, some are haunting you while you piss yourself in a dark room. Except now there's timelines, missing kids, and your dad's probably doomed too. If you're into FNAF Warlab or just enjoy stress-induced heart palpitations, grab it. If not, skip it. Alright, Amazon's throwing a few free horror bits at us this week if you've got Prime. Might as well get something for your subscription you forgot you're paying for. You Will Die Here Tonight. God Code. Truth in advertising, that. You're part of some elite squad trapped in a murder mansion straight out of 1998. Starts slow, ends with you panicking and burning ammo like an idiot. Think Resident Evil if zombies had better aim. Werewolf apocalypse, art at forest, narrative trip through Polish woods and family trauma, with a side of eco horror and furry rage. Less pew pew, more inner monologue and existential dread. Bring patience, not a pulse rifle. Halloween Stories, horror movie. Point and click cheese from Elephant Games. You get sucked into a cursed horror flick and poke around until next jump scare farts out at wallpaper. Not terrifying, but decent if you like mild hauntings and zero sleep schedule. Freeze free. Claim them, try them, uninstall half of them. Your call. Now, let's have a little look at our Twonk week. I could have fired another volley at Shade Not, but I already roasted that bellend on Friday like a Christmas goose soaked in Red Bull and self-importance. Now, this week we're shining Twonk's spotlight on a different flavour of daft lad. Kind who thinks having an opinion is same as being correct. So, Battlefield BR. Harmless topic, right? Just a casual bit of back and forth with a viewer. Don't need a BR. Agreed. But EA will be EA and keep trying. Nice, civil, balanced. But then enter walking Reddit comments section with no filter and even less understanding. Fantastic Mr. Phasma 9874, and it's start at meltdown. BR's really good. You don't need BR, and that's fine, but stop this dinosaur gatekeeping mentality. Straight off bat, classic tourist whine. Gatekeeping. As if not wanting to see Battlefield turned into a fucking Fortnite clone is some kind of hate crime. Listen, Phasma, only thing being kept is standards, and you clearly left yours in last loot box. So I reply, fairly I might add, saying I like BRs, just not Warzone, and that Battlefield community has shown they don't want to BR. Twice. What does Twonk for Brains do? Doubles down with, community is not one thing. Gatekeeping as usual. Let's make this clear for you and every other tourist who parachutes into these communities with hot tech and hard-on for chaos. Yeah, community into monolith. But when multiple iterations, multiple dev surveys, multiple subreddit post histories, multiple feedback cycles all scream, we don't want a battle royale. That's not gatekeeping. It's a trend. It's a pattern. It's evidence, you absolute knuckle dragger. And when someone else, Morgan Highfield 5313, hero at fucking week, jumps in and drop truth bomb about how Battlefield fans want their dev resources spent on actual Battlefield part of Battlefield, Phasma responds like a high school insult generator way. Your opinion is invalid for anybody but you, weeb. Weeb, as an insult. In 2025. That's not even offensive. It's fucking embarrassing. Then we hit full meltdown mode. Phasma throws around gatekeeping like it's a slur. Fails to grasp what long-term community feedback even is. And proves beyond all doubt that they're a fly-by-night trend chaser with self-awareness or a gnat in a hall of mirrors. So yeah, this week's Twonk Week goes to fantastic Mr. Phasma 9874 for trying to lecture Battlefield vets on what they should want. Whining about gatekeeping while ignoring context, history, and logic, and somehow thinking weeb is still a devastating comeback in a conversation about game modes. Phasma, mate, you don't sound like someone passionate about gaming. You sound like someone whose entire experience is dictated by Twitch stream titles and YouTube thumbnails. You don't care about Battlefield. You care about dopamine, cosmetics, and trying to feel clever in a comment thread full of people who actually remember when Battlefield were great. Next time you want to enter a discussion with adults, maybe bring more than reheated Reddit texts and buzzwords from 2016. Or better yet, don't. You're Twonk Week. Now piss off and fluff another influencer. Back to your questions. And this one's short, sharp, and straight to the point. Cheers to Ages444 for sending this in. I wanted to ask if you've tried Not for Broadcast. If so, how is it so far? Technically, no. I'm not bought full thing, and for one very specific reason. I refuse to drop cash on a game unless I'm absolutely certain I'll enjoy it. Or there's zero chance it'll end up on Epic or Amazon for free. If there's even a whiff it might be part of a future giveaway, it goes in waitlist. That said, I did have a go on Prologue. It were funny, weird as hell, kind of British satire that feels like Black Mirror snorted a line of cocaine and took over a broadcast booth. It's clever, well written, and if you're into media manipulation, political piss-taking, mild existential dread, it's got that in spades. But as for playing it regularly, nah, not for me. It's a vibe, but not one I'm chasing unless it shows up free somewhere. So yeah, fun for a laugh, not in my rotation. Here's another from Ages444, clearly keeping receipts on what I should be playing. How's your Balatro games been recently? Kicking ass and taking names? Or it's Needle being a prick again? Now there's one I've not touched in a few months. Need to get back in there. Same goes for Mustache, to be honest. I've been that bogged down with other games and deep in my own projects, I haven't been taking time to sit back and just enjoy those for what they are. Pure fun. Balatro still has unfinished business for me. More to unlock. More runs to crush. I've not finished it fully yet, and every time I remember that, itch comes back. It's one of those games where you can lose hours to just one more run, and suddenly it's 4 in the morning and you're talking to your deck like it's a living thing. So yeah, Needle's probably still a prick, but I won't know until I fire it back up. Might be time soon. Moving right along into my other projects, triggered perfectly by another smart question from Ages444. Cheers, mate. This just came to mind since you're making a book, and I wanted to ask you and possibly warn you about picking your publisher or distributors. I won't go deep into it, but a YouTuber, Nerdcubed, wrote a book in Doctor Who novels, but he got fucked over. He has a video about it, so if you want to edit, it's 4 months ago from what I searched. Here to watch. Are you self-publishing or do you already have one lined up? Simple yeah or no is fine if you aren't able to disclose who. That is perfect question to lead into book update for this week. And yeah, I am aware of what happened to Nerdcubed. He got screwed by Unbound, and it's a textbook example of how big names can get shafted by dodgy publishers if they're not careful. That's exactly why I've decided to steer clear at traditional route entirely. I'm self-publishing, going through Amazon Kindle. Now it's not a perfect system, there's a few potholes along the way you gotta avoid. Copyright checks, layout, distribution quirks, but I've done my research, I know what I'm walking into, and I'd much rather keep creative control and own rates than hand reins to some smug London middleman who thinks they know better than creator. Timeline-wise, still looking at minimum of 6 months before release. That gives me time to get more of book 2 done and maybe even start book 3 if the pacing's right. At very least, I want a full legal sweep done. No accidental toe-stepping on anyone's IP, no grey areas. This release is going to be clean, fully owned, fully mine. And now on to game devlog. I've been messing with room logic again. Originally everything was laid out to look like one long corridor. No real tension, no variation. That's scrap now. I've reworked layout so it actually matters which direction you go. Take wrong path, you're toast. Dead. Lights out. Proper consequences and strategy involved now. It's no longer just keep walking forward and mash buttons. Still a long way to go before it's demo ready. Looking at least a year of work before it's got enough meat on bones to be playable in any meaningful way. But if I time it right and I can get that demo polished, might just be able to launch it on Steam before Halloween next year. Perfect timing for something a little dark, a little creepy, and guaranteed to grab eyeballs from seasonal crowd. That's log. Books moving, games evolving, and neither one's getting handed off to some corporate bellend with a clipboard and a coffee addiction. Now, into the news segment. Stuff that should have hit Friday's game in Hellwire, but got bumped thanks to Shade not doing his usual Twonk Olympics routine. Right, this one's about time. Battlefield have finally done something sensible with challenge reroll system. Here's the breakdown. If you're playing Battlefield 6 and you reroll a challenge, you'll no longer get one that'll only be completed in RedSec. That's huge. Before, you could be playing regular multiplayer, reroll a challenge, and suddenly you've got some nonsense that requires you to jump into RedSec just to clear it. Completely disconnected from how most players were engaging with game. Now that crap's sorted. If you're not playing RedSec, you won't be forced into it through a backdoor. But if you are playing RedSec, you'll still get RedSec specified challenge options when you reroll. Rewards remain random, but this is about respecting player time and mode choice. And for once, they're actually listening. Shout out to feedback trolls who kept hammering this on forums and socials. You got this and over at line. Now this is one for real Halo veterans, ones who lived golden days of B30, known more widely at silent cartographer level from OG Halo. Jamie Griesemer, ex-Bungie dev and one at brains behind Halo's level design, took to Twitter, or wherever Elon's calling it now, to vent about some recent tweaks to that iconic mission. Here's gist. Griesemer specifically designed parts at level to force players out at Warthog to deal with hunters the hard way. He placed rocks on path to make it discouraging, but not impossible, to drive Warthog through. You could still try if you were stubborn enough, and that would charm. It were a design choice, not a bug. But now, in some updated builds or remastered versions, you can apparently just smash crates out of way and take Warthog through like a battering ram, trivialising all encounter. And to top it off, he pointed out that they put trees in landing zone at Woohoo Jump, one of the most iconic vehicle jumps in Halo history. It's like letting someone paint a moustache on Mona Lisa. He later added that vehicle damage tweaks have made it even harder, possibly impossible, to get Warthog down certain sections now, killing off that player-created fun altogether. So yeah, Jamie's pissed off, and rightly so. This is kind of dev insight we need to hear more of. It shows how delicate good level design is, and how modern tweaks, no matter how small, can piss in holy water of gaming history. So, here's a headline that'd be funny if it wasn't so infuriating. Activision's selling you a pre-order bonus for Black Ops 7 that you can't use in Black Ops 7. Yeah, you heard that right. According to Charlie Intel, Reznov Challenge Pack, marketed as a pre-order bonus for Black Ops 7, will only be usable in Black Ops 6 and Warzone. Not in game you're actually pre-ordering. Let that rot in your brain for a moment. That community has absolutely gone nuclear, and rightly so. Some defenders are saying, oh, but they've done this before, like with Ghosts. But here's the thing, we're not in 2013 anymore, lads. This isn't a one-off. This is a pattern. And now they've removed carry forward. You're paying for skins locked in old games, some of which you might not even own. And reaction online? Pure gold. You got some folks calling out bait and switch outright, expect lots of chargebacks. Others clock true motive. Now Activision can resell same skins in Black Ops 7, slightly altered, and call it new content. Absolute daylight robbery with a marketing spin. Cappuccino 6 summed it up perfectly. Pre-order bonus for a game where you then cannot use bonus in that you paid money for? Make it make sense. Exactly. You can't, because it's pure scam logic. It's like ordering a pizza, paying for extra toppings, and then being told those toppings are available but only on a pizza you bought last month. Add to that Little Caesars cheese and tomato camo collab. Yeah, that's real, and it's clear. Activision's going full snake oil salesman. What's next? Burger King branded kill streak that only works in Black Ops 6 if you redeem a receipt. And it's kicker. I'm calling it now. This sudden return to form, promised removal or SBMM, no disbanding lobbies, all those OG friendly changes, all bullshit. A trap. By end of season 1, that shit will be completely reversed. You'll have already spent your money, and they'll go back to spoon-feeding TikTok crowd and grinding whales. Too little, too fucking late. You can't beg old school players to come back and then mug 'em second the walk-through door. At this rate, COD won't have a fanbase left to fleece in 5 years. Well's almost dry, and all Activision knows how to do is dig deeper. This one's got layers, and if you've ever tried to sell a game on PC, or even thought about it, you'll want to pay attention. Rocky just dropped a massive industry white paper titled State of PC Distribution based on a study of 306 game industry execs. And it paints a clear picture. Steam's grip on PC gaming is making developers nervous as fuck. Here's reality. 72% of developers believe Steam operates like a monopoly. 53% are genuinely worried they're relying too heavily on it. And with 18,000 new titles hitting Steam in 2024, it's no longer a store, it's a content avalanche. You could make next Hollow Knight and still end up buried under 5 dating sims and German bus simulator. So what's got devs losing sleep? Biggest fear isn't even Steam itself, it's rise of free-to-play models. That what number one concern, 40%. Followed by market saturation, 35%. And discoverability, 33%. You know, usual, your game is great but nobody's seen it nightmare. What's move? Diversification. Here's where they jump into. 48% are now putting games on an Epic Games Store. 38% using e-stores like Humble and Fanatical. 30% selling through marketplaces like G2A and Kingwin. 10% with GOG. 8% with itch.io. But it's not all sunshine and key activations. 73% of devs are worried about players reselling keys. Grey market's still a massive concern, and it's kicker. Most devs don't even agree on what it is. Some think it's just dodgy resellers. Others believe grey market is platforms themselves, like Fanatical or G2A. Data's fascinating if you're ever remotely interested in business side of games. Lays out benefits, ease of use, pricing, control, reach, and risks, loss of revenue, control, piracy, loopholes. For me, I read the whole thing. It's a proper deep dive. And if you're building or distributing your own game, or just want to know why indie devs are sweating every Steam review, it's worth a look. I'll drop link to full white paper in comments for those who want to dive in. If you've ever asked, why do devs bitch about Steam? This is your answer, backed by actual numbers. Back to your questions. And Fixer 2016's out here stirring pot like he's hosting Hell's Kitchen for masochists. What's worst food you've ever eaten? Easy. Marmite. Satan's own Nutella. A tar-like war crime in a jar. Tastes like someone filtered salty regret through a radiator pipe. Now apparently, I used to love stuff as a toddler. But to be fair, back then I also licked windows and ate crayons. So bar's low. These days, I'd rather lick a car battery. But if we're talking shock factor, buckle up. Caramelised spider? Crunchy, bit like burnt bacon rind. Chocolate-covered wasps? Textured, but sweet revenge. Caterpillars, worms, woodlice. Call it bush tucker, or just Tuesday in Yorkshire. I've had worse in a kebab. Horse burgers? Juicy, majestic, delicious. Sorry, Black Beauty. Calamari? Chewy elastic bands with seasoning. Still better than Marmite. Escargot? Fancy snails in garlic butter. Divine. Slippery but worth it. So yeah, worst thing I've eaten? Still Marmite. Best thing that should be revolting but ain't? Honestly, most of the stuff people scream over in Fear Factor. But what about you lot? What's one bite that had you questioning your life choices? Drop it in comments. Let's make a buffet at culinary trauma. And this one's fitting for season. Cheers Fixer 2616 for dropping this Halloween special. Since today's Halloween, do you believe in ghosts and demons? No mate, I don't believe. I've experienced. Now for what skeptics flood comments with the science this and logic that, save it. I'm not here to convince you. If you don't believe, that's fine. You need proof. I don't have it. So believe what you want, just don't waste your breath trying to debunk my life. Yeah? For those who do believe, yeah, I've seen and felt things that'll make your hair stand up if that sort of thing scares you. It's probably why horror movies don't note for me anymore. There's no such thing as a scary film when you've been face to face with real thing. I've seen ghosts, spoken to things that weren't natural, dated a bona fide witch. Yeah, she was a proper bitch. My experience don't even scratch the surface compared to some cases I've studied though. Enfield Haunting, Amityville, Smurl House, all of them. I've looked into in detail, trying to find a link, a pattern, something that matched what I've been through. Most of what I found, worse. And none of them at same locations I've been. Places I've had me run-ins aren't tourist traps. The private homes, demolished buildings, or repurposed sites. One, for example, an old school in Barnsley. A listed building, it's an old folks home now, built around original structure. I explored it for conversion and once after, enough to know that whatever were there is still there. Then there's Low Stand, an old watchtower near where I grew up. Nobody's ever done a proper overnight investigation there. Not that I've seen, but I guarantee, rate team with rate gear would catch some good shit there. That place hums with energy you can't explain. There are countless spots like that in UK, places off map, away from tourist haunts, but ghost hunters keep going for the same ones. Ancient Ramming, for example. I've never been, but a psychic mate of mine has, and he swears there's something there if you approach it properly. These days I mostly just watch ghost hunting channels for entertainment. Sam and Colby, entertaining lads. Not sure how genuine. Project Fear? Now they're interesting. They used to work for Zach Bagans, who, to be honest, I don't buy into. He's done a lot for Field, sure, but he isn't same camp as Warren's for me. More legend than legitimacy. People I do believe? Jason Oz, Ghost Theory lads, Amy's Crypt, few others. They treat it seriously. For gamers watching, yeah, I've seen boys, Eddie, Josh, Molly, narrator Juicy, doing their ghost hunts too. Good fun, but I doubt they're serious about it. Still entertaining stuff. When it comes to books and films, I go for ones based on real cases. Genuinely believe something happened to these people. Sure, Hollywood's twisting most of it, especially Warren stories. Take Conjuring films. Enjoyable, but don't treat them like documentaries. I watched Last Rites on Friday. Total bollocks if you're after accuracy. Barely connected to the smell case at all, but still okay for what it is. I've studied Warrens for years. Legends? Yeah, but honest? Not entirely. There's truth buried in there, but not all of it. So believe or don't, that's up to you. But for those who've seen or felt it, you know. You understand that feeling there's something brushing past you when you're alone, or that whisper you can't trace. Turns out, all those people called mad for hearing voices might just have been unlucky enough to notice what restorers ignore. Maybe one day, someone will get undeniable proof. Kind no skeptic, no priest, no government body can laugh off. When that day comes, nobody will choose to believe. They'll have no choice. Now then, channel update time. And I've got to say, I'm actually surprised here. You lot love shorts, don't you? Right now we've got 1,919 of you subscribed and climbing. And I see you out there, watching, liking, sharing, all that good shit. Massive shout out to members at Resistance, James Lima, Abapical, Firkinel, Scotty Seether, and Mayhem. I appreciate all of you, members and subs alike. Your recent Chaos Engine keeps running. Now here's plan. Since you lot are eating those shorts up, they're staying. Simple. New shorts drop every day after each main video. Across YouTube, TikTok and Reels. Might even start tossing them into Twitter X this week. See how that goes. Test waters, spread madness. Gaming Hellwire continues as usual, Monday to Friday. Unless some bellend like Shade not decides to derail things with a text so dumb I have to pull emergency brake. You know how it goes. A Scotty podcast drops next Sunday, like clockwork. But one little change to its schedule. That UK game sales chart top 10 short been quietly dropping late Monday nights as a test. You lot seem to really like that, so it's tweak. It'll now be included at end of Monday's Gaming Hellwire. Then standalone short still drops Tuesday morning for those who want it bite-sized. This just frees me up a bit more for all other wild shit I'm working on behind scenes, and you still get content you're after. Everyone wins. As always, if there's gaming news, industry drama, or some dumbass clip going viral that you want my take on, comments are always open. Drop a line, I'll dig into it. So that's your lot for this week's Say Scotty podcast. We've roasted nonsense, punted twonks in bollocks, reminded the world that opinions are welcome, but ignorance gets drop kicked into the skip. I'll be back tomorrow with Gaming Hellwire, where we drag more gaming filth into daylight. Until then, like, subscribe, do dance or don't, comment below with your questions, rants or random abuse. And remember, play what you like, say what you mean, and above all, don't be a fucking twonk. See you next time, you magnificent.